So we will start off with a small prayer to Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangurlangayate girimetrupadamakam vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So today is the most auspicious Guru Purnima, signifies the appearance day of Srila Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is the composer of all the Vedas and the Upanishads. So there are many representative spiritual masters of Srila Vyasadeva who are coming in the proper disciplic succession, coming down from the Supreme Lord Krishna. As we saw, the parampara system is very, very important. Krishna himself is saying that we need to learn this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita through proper authentic parampara. Anyone and everyone cannot claim themselves to be a proper spiritual master unless he is coming down and received the knowledge in an authentic parampara system. So Vyasadeva is one of the parampara acharya, and from where our ISKCON movement is actually getting the knowledge from. I was also mentioning about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Supreme Lord Krishna himself. And he came down to this earthly planet. He was born in Mayapur in West Bengal 500 years back, and he propagated this Harinama Sankirtana movement. This is a bona fide movement, and this is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures composed by Srila Vyasadeva. So that's why anyone who is actually trying to propagate this knowledge, and he sits in a place called Vyasasana. Vyasasana is nothing but an asana where we are representing Srila Vyasadeva. So that's a short note on today's importance. And remembering Vyasadeva, we will offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who has given us, rather who has translated and given commentaries to all the works of Srila Vyasadeva, most important works of Vyasadeva. So let's offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada on this auspicious day. Hare Krishna. So with that note, let's begin today's session. Let me share my screen. Okay, so today we will look into the chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 11 deals with the universal form of the Supreme Lord. So before that, I will give an overview on the chapter 10, which we saw yesterday. So chapter 10 talks about Supreme Lord Krishna's opulences. So I was mentioning how Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Bhagavan means someone who has all 6 opulences. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashasha Shriyaha. So he has all wealth, all beauty, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya. He is all powerful, And then he's all famous. He's all renunciant as well. So basically, these are the six main opulences. When somebody possesses all these six opulences, he can be called as Bhagavan. Nobody else should call themselves as Bhagavan. These days, we find so many gurus, swamis, babas, who are all claiming themselves, or rather, their followers claim themselves to be the supreme God. But this won't be acceptable unless he possesses all the six opulences. And all the more, it should be mentioned in the scriptures that such a personality is actually the avatar of Supreme Lord. Unless a mention is there in the Vedic scriptures written down by Srila Vyasadeva, nobody else can claim themselves to be the Supreme Lord. So in the 10th chapter, Krishna spoke about all his different opulences. In the first section, Krishna says that he is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. We saw 4 important verses, isn't it? So that actually talks about Krishna's opulences. So initially, Arjuna was requesting Krishna to show his opulences. But Krishna says he is the source of everything. He is known, but yet he is not known. Krishna is the origin of everything, but yet to his devotees, he gets completely bound. Mother Yashoda very easily bound the Supreme Lord Krishna with a small little rope. Right? So that goes to show how a personality who is infinite becomes finite in front of his devotees. So only love and devotion can bind Krishna. I was also telling in a different context in chapter 9 where Krishna was served with sumptuous food by Duryodhana, but he did not accept that food. Rather, he went to his devotee Vidura's house, and when Vidura's wife served banana peels, Krishna was happily accepting those banana peels. Who on this earth would eat the banana peel? Right? So people just throw it on the street. But here was a Supreme Lord, creator of everything, master of all the living entities. He is eating a banana peel offered by his pure devotee. So he is known, yet he is unknown. We cannot understand or fathom the activities of Supreme Lord. So in the next section, we dealt with the 4 Chaturslokis. So basically, the Chaturslokis are giving us knowledge on 3 aspects. What are those 3 aspects? Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is nothing but a relationship with the Supreme Lord. Right? So Krishna is the origin of everything, source of everything, and our relationship is to render devotional service to Krishna. That is the Sambandha, our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Abhideya is the process by which we can render that service or approach Krishna. What is that process? Chanting of the holy name, studying scriptures, rendering service to Krishna, cooking for Krishna, honoring Krishna's prasadam. So all these are called devotional service. So that is the process by which we can approach Krishna. And finally, the Prayojana aspect is also mentioned in those verses. Prayojana is nothing but the goal. Any activity that we do, we should have a goal attached to it. Like for example, when we are studying in school, we have a goal that we want to get into a job. So that is the goal for people who are studying in school or colleges. So similarly, when we are practicing bhakti towards Supreme Lord, what is the goal? The end goal is to attain Krishna and develop love towards him. Right? So we saw in the previous chapters, especially chapter 8, where Krishna is recommending all the conditioned souls, living entities in this world, not to struggle in this material world, because this material world is actually a place of suffering and temporariness. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Krishna is saying, why you are struggling here? Come back to me. And my abode is the place where there is no birth, death, old age, and disease. So you can live peacefully, happily, serving me and be with all my devotees. So that is what is the end goal of all of us. That is emphasized in the Bhagavad Gita, text 8 to 11. So then Arjuna becomes curious. He wanted to know more about the Supreme Lord's opulences. So he accepts Krishna as a Supreme, and he is showing his eagerness to know more about Supreme Lord Krishna. So then in the verses 20 to 42, Krishna actually mentions about the different opulences. How Krishna is the best among the best in all the fields. So of all the sages and demigods, he is Narada. Of all the warriors, he is Kartikeya. Of all the Rudras, he is Lord Shiva. Of all the mountains, he is mountains that are immovable, he is Himalayas. Movable, he is Meru. So like that, he is giving different aspects where we can actually perceive and understand Krishna. We cannot miss Krishna in any part of this universe. Whatever best that we see, we simply have to understand that Krishna is behind that. Like for example, especially when it comes to people in the scientific field, right? So we find so many wonderful scientists, Nobel laureates, who have achieved so many wonderful things. So where does all this knowledge come from? The source is Krishna only. Because Krishna is giving them that special favor by giving that material knowledge, they are able to excel in that field. Right? So rather than only praising those individuals, so we need to understand that all these wonderful things that they have achieved, it's all because of the Supreme Lord's empowerment. When Supreme Lord Krishna withdraws that empowerment, then all these powers will go away. One famous example is the boxer Muhammad Ali. We all know how he was unconquerable during some period of his time. So nobody could win over Muhammad Ali. But what happened to him in the mid-90s? He had Parkinson's disease and all his power were withdrawn. Who withdrew all his powers? Supreme Lord Krishna. Right? At one point when he was standing in front of the Olympic parade and he was holding the torch, final torch to light the Olympic lamp, his hands were literally shivering. People in the audience, they were nervous whether he would hold on to the torch or he would drop the torch, right? So what happened to the famous personality Muhammad Ali, who was unconquerable at some point of time? So we need to understand that Krishna bestowed his mercy on this personality for that short period of time. And when he wanted to withdraw, he withdrew that part. Right? So that's why we need to understand that Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the master of all, and we are all servants of the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is the finer understanding of the chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. Any questions at this point? Okay, so let's begin into the chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so chapter 11, how is it divided? It begins with the request coming from Arjuna as is the case in most of the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is requesting Krishna to show all the opulences in one form. So in the chapter 10, Krishna spoke about his different opulences. Now Arjuna wanted to see that opulence in a universal form of the Supreme Lord. And in text 5 to 14, Krishna is actually showing the universal form. And the description of that form is given by Sanjaya. Sanjaya is like the audience who also saw the universal form. So he is describing to us how the universal form is looking like. And between 15 to 45, we find the prayers of Arjuna. Arjuna saw that universal form and he is praying to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And finally, in the last section, so basically the armed form of Krishna is actually shown. Okay. So what is the universal form all about? Right? The Vishwarupa, as we have often heard. How many of us think that the Vishwarupa, which we have all seen famously in many places, that is the supreme form of Lord Krishna? How many of us think like that? Because the Lord has different forms. The two-handed form with flute, and then the four-handed Vishnu form. He also has a form of Narsimhadev, Lord Rama, so many different forms. And we also know the universal form where he shows the entire creation and annihilation of the material universe. How many of you think that this form is the supreme form of Lord? You can raise your hand also. Nobody thinks?
Prabhuji, can you please repeat the question?
The universal form of Lord, Vishwarupa, how many of you think that that is the supreme form? The spiritual form, the supreme spiritual form.
No, Prabhuji, he shows that everything is in him.
Right.
He is everything. That's what he's trying to show. But supreme form, I am not able to understand. But everything is in him. The sun, the moon, all the celestial planets, all the demigods, even us, everybody is into him.
Right.
Like he was trying to show before the war, everybody has gone and everybody is into him.
Okay. Right. So in that sense,
Prabhuji, I think the form that he has shown to Arjuna, matlab, he has shown his Virat Roop to Arjun that time,
right.
in which all the forms have come in that. So I think that is the main supreme form.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Yes. And I see a couple of hands as well who agree that the Vishwarupa is actually the supreme form. Right. So this session, especially on this chapter, may be an eye-opener for all of us, in a sense that the Supreme Lord's form, the universal form, is not the supreme spiritual form. Rather, this is the material form, temporary manifestation of the Lord's form. So this is not the eternal spiritual form of the Supreme Lord. Why am I saying so? I am not saying this. The great acharyas are actually mentioning this. Lord has spiritual form and he comes down into this material world. He comes with that spiritual form only. Like for example, when the Lord descended down in Vrindavan as Supreme Lord Krishna, he had that eternal spiritual form. He was not like all of us. We think that we are also like human beings and Krishna was also like a human being. So both of us are one and the same. No. Rather, our form is actually derived from the Supreme Lord's form. The fact that we are looking like Supreme Lord Krishna is because Krishna is the origin. His original spiritual form is the two-handed form with a flute in his hand. That is the original spiritual form of Supreme Lord. In Goloka Vrindavana, in the eternal abode, spiritual abode of Lord Krishna, Krishna can be seen only with his flute in his hand. That is the original spiritual form. And of course, there are different incarnations like Narasimhadev, Vamana, Matsya, Kurma, so many different forms. They are also spiritual forms which are eternally present in the spiritual abode in the Vaikunthas. Now, coming to the universal form is a material form, temporary manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Why I am saying it is a temporary manifestation? Because the entire universe is not eternal. It's all material creation. Right? So anything material is temporary. This earthly planet is temporary. This entire universe is temporary. One time it is going to get manifested, and after some period of time it is going to be unmanifested. So Krishna, by showing that all the creation in this material world, all the planetary systems, all the devatas, and all the material elements, so he is showing everything in that supreme form. From him emanates all the universes, and from him and to him goes back all the material universes as well. The creation and annihilation. All these are temporary. And that's why this material form of the Supreme Lord Vishwarupa is also temporary. Right? And as we can see in the prayers of Arjuna, when we get to that, we will look into it in detail. Krishna, as per the request of Arjuna, he is showing his universal form. And Arjuna says, I cannot comprehend this form. It is beyond my perception. So you please come down to the four-handed form. So then Krishna takes back his four-handed form with Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. And then finally, as per Arjuna's request, Krishna retains his original two-handed form, because that is the form with which Arjuna is able to have a relationship with. So Krishna, he has so many number of devotees. With each one of them, he is having individual relationship. With some of them, he may have a friendly relationship. With others, he may have a child-parent relationship. Typically, there are 5 rasas: Shanta rasa, Dasya rasa, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. These are the 5 primary rasas with which Krishna does his relationship. And that is the ultimate wish of Krishna. He does not want his devotees to worship him in the Virata or Vishwarupa form. Rather, he wants to have that loving relationship with his devotees. Just like how Arjuna was having that loving, friendly relationship with Krishna. Mother Yashoda was having that motherly relationship, parental relationship with Krishna. The gopis of Vrindavan had that conjugal relationship with Krishna. So that is the relationship with Krishna that he wants. Right? It is just like a high court judge. Right? High court judge, maybe in his uniform with a black coat and a tie, sitting in a court. And in the evening, when he gets back to his home, he would remove all his uniform. He would have his grandchildren play on top of him. He would roll around with them, play hide and seek with his grandchildren. Which of these forms do you think the High Court judge would prefer? Which is very dear to him, according to you? Is it the official uniform or the dress code that he has at home?
Dress code which he has at his home.
Exactly. Right? So the universal form is like somebody who is in the office. Right? Krishna, when he is creating the entire universes, So that is what is being depicted in the universal form. Whereas when Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavana along with all his cowherd men, gopis, cows, that is the position which Krishna enjoys the most. Right? So that is why Arjuna was not able to comprehend the universal form, and finally Krishna had to show his two-handed form. So we will get into detail on this chapter. So we'll begin with Arjuna's request. We can see Arjuna's state of mind in this chapter, how he was requesting for universal form, and Lord is completely independent. So if he wishes, he could show the universal form. Many in the Kurukshetra war also witnessed Krishna's universal form, but not many could understand that Krishna is the supreme. That is the beauty of devotees. Only devotees like Arjuna, like Sanjaya, they could understand that the universal form is actually the material manifestation of Supreme Lord. Duryodhan was also there, Dushasana was there. They were not able to understand or perceive the Lord's form. So this is the beginning of this chapter. Arjuna Vacha Madanugrahaya Paramam Guhyam Adhyatma Samyitam Yat Vayoktam Vachastena Mohoyam Vigato Mama. Can somebody read the translation for me?
Will I read, Mahaprabhuji?
Yes.
Translation. Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled.
So he is referring to the instructions he received until chapter 10. Now this is chapter 11. So what is Arjuna saying? By hearing all those instructions that you have given about this spiritual subject matter, all my illusion has been dispelled. What was the illusion of Arjuna? If any of you could recollect. Yes, Lata Mataji, you can see.
Illusion was that the body and the soul are different, and he was hesitating to fight with his brothers, Duryodhan and all.
Exactly.
Now his illusion is gone, and he feels that now everybody is inside Krishna, so he has to just whatever order Krishna says, he has to execute that.
Yes. He understood until this point that Krishna is the source of everything, right? In yesterday's session, we saw how Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we can find reference to this in the Canto 1, where there are different incarnations of the Supreme Lord mentioned. Various incarnations. The famous Dashavataras, and then you have the Purusha Avatara, you have the Guna Avatara. So many different types of incarnations of the Lord. It is mentioned that just like how when you stand in the shore of a beach, you find unlimited waves, isn't it? Is there a limit to the number of waves that you find? No. Similarly, the Lord's incarnations are also unlimited. We only know prominent 10 incarnations, the Dashavatara, but there are unlimited incarnations. Like, for example, Vyasadeva himself is an incarnation of Lord. He is called Satyavesha Avatara of the Lord. In order to produce the Vedic literature, Krishna empowered Vyasadeva. So in that sense, Vyasadeva is actually the Shakti Avesha Avatara of the Lord. So these are all mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. And in that section, there is a verse which says, Ete cham sakala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam mridayanti yuge yuge ete cha amsa kala pumsaha. So all the incarnations that are listed above before that verse, they are all either the portions or the portions of the portions of Supreme Lord. But who is the Supreme Lord? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. So that is something which Krishna has actually mentioned before this chapter. So Arjuna says he has understood that. And his job is to listen to the instructions of Supreme Lord Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji,
we can't hear.
Hare Krishna,
It's not
Prabhuji, can you?
audible. It's
Hare,
not audible.
can
No,
you, Prabhuji? We
it's
can hear.
very clear. It's
We
very
can't hear.
clear.
Very clear,
No,
very
it's
Hare
very
clear.
Krishna,
clear.
we
Very
can't hear,
clear.
Guruji.
Who cannot hear?
I can hear.
You can name the person who cannot hear. Hare Krishna. Who couldn't hear me? Okay, somebody said,
Prabhu, maybe some network issue for them.
okay, yeah, fine.
It's
Mother.
very
Yeah,
clear
it's very
actually.
clear,
Very
Prabhuji.
clear. Very
Okay.
clear. Very
Prabhuji, can you please give the sloka reference of the Srimad Bhagavatam sloka which you said just now?
I don't remember the exact verse number. Ete
It
chamsa
is.
kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. I can refer and
Yeah, okay,
message.
Prabhuji.
Yeah. You can search in the Google also. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. You will get that
Okay,
verse.
okay, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, in that canto it says 24 incarnations, no, Prabhu?
Yeah, that's what. So those are the incarnations mentioned in that book, in that Srimad Bhagavatam. You cannot mention all the infinite number of incarnations, no, within the Srimad Bhagavatam. So they are mentioning the prominent incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So Arjuna's state of mind, his illusion is over, and he is accepting Krishna as a supreme. Is completely satisfied, right? So that is the state of mind of Arjuna at this point. And then, can one of you read the translation for me?
Prabhu, may I read, Prabhu?
Yes.
O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form.
Answer.
Though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. So here, Arjuna is requesting Krishna, can you please show me that form where you have entered into the cosmic manifestation? And I want to see that form. As I mentioned, this cosmic manifestation is the temporary creation, right? So the entire material world is temporary. Spiritual world is eternal. That doesn't get destroyed at all. That Krishna himself is saying in various places. So Arjuna wanted to see that form. So lesson for us is, one cannot order the Supreme Lord, but by surrender and devotion, one can invoke his mercy. Very important point for all of us. Why? Because sometimes we think that Bhagavan is our order carrier. I want good marks in my 10th examination. So I go and visit a temple of Krishna, put 100 rupees in the hundi, and then I demand, Krishna, I have put 100 rupees to you. You please make sure that I am getting 90 plus marks in my examination. So Krishna is not standing in the temple just to execute our orders. So bhakti means love and devotion, right? So without any expectation, when we can offer to Krishna and we can make some humble requests. So Krishna, if you wish so, can you please do this favor? So that could be the request coming from us. And also we should end that request by saying, if you feel that this is going to be good for my growth, spiritual growth. So that should be the mood in which a devotee prays, not that we go and give a command or order to the Supreme Lord. So here Arjuna is teaching us with utmost humbleness. Arjuna is requesting, if you can kindly show me that universal form. So why Arjuna was requesting the universal form? As I clarified in the beginning of the session, Krishna's spiritual form, original spiritual form is the two-handed spiritual form, where he is holding a flute and he is playing with his cow headband. But this universal form is a temporary material form of Supreme Lord. Why Arjuna was requesting Krishna to show that form? Sorry. Because he wanted to convince those who may not agree that Krishna is supreme. Right? When we see something magnanimous, something which we have never seen, then we accept that the personality has some great power and he is probably supreme. Right? When Krishna is saying, I am the supreme, people may not accept. So when he actually shows such a gigantic form where everything is being created and annihilated from him, then people may accept. So some people still consider Krishna as ordinary. How come Krishna could be the Supreme Lord? He is going to the neighbor's house and stealing butter. Which God would go and steal butter? Right? Or which God would deny fighting with the other Kshatriya king and run away from battle? How could Krishna be the Supreme God? Right? So we call Krishna famously as Makanchor, Ranachor, right? So many different names. They are all appear to be like negative connotations. Now Krishna is the butter thief. Krishna is has run away from the battle. It may sound like a negative connotation, but actually we are praising Krishna for that activity. When we go and steal from others, we are called as thief. When Krishna goes and steals butter, can we call Krishna as thief? No. Who created butter after all? It is Krishna only. If I go and take my own money, can you call me as a thief? Not really. Right? So that ordinary people cannot understand unless you get connected with a proper authentic sampradaya. You will not be able to understand it. So that's why Krishna is showing this universal form. And this is also done in order to set the benchmark for imposters. Who are the imposters that we are referring to here? Can any one of you guess?
Duryodhana, the Kauravas.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Then Kamsa, all that negative roles.
Okay.
There are so many Babas also who call themselves God.
Yeah, present day fake babas.
Yeah, correct.
Fake
The
Babas.
fake Babas.
Right? Who call themselves as Supreme Lord. Right? So they do
Bogus.
some magic. They bring out
Bogus
some
gurus.
material elements. Right? And then they call that they are Supreme Lord. So to those imposters, Krishna is actually setting the benchmark here. So universal form, lesson for us, is a litmus test for those who claim to be God. If somebody claims that he is God, please show the universal form. We can request that person. That will clearly give an answer to us whether he is a God or a dog, as Prabhupada often says.
Prabhuji, we can also ask them to lift the Govardhan hill.
Yeah.
Which they cannot.
Yes. So Krishna manifested so many different forms. Like in the Vrindavana, he had literally millions of gopis. With each one of them in the Rasa dance, Krishna actually expanded himself into multiple forms and he was able to dance with each and every one of them. Right? So that was possible by Supreme Lord Prabhu. And also, he was retaining his single form as Krishna, and he asked all the gopis to stand in a circle, and Krishna was able to dance with each one of them at the same time. Just like how you have this this thing here, right? So when you keep rotating it, right? So when you keep rotating it, it looks as though this is a big circle, but actually the object is a single microphone, right? So when you rotate it with such a speed, it appears as though the object is visible everywhere in that circle. Similarly, Krishna was able to travel in that speed where he was able to literally dance with each one of the gopis. That was the power that Krishna exhibited. So this is actually a litmus test for all of us. We cannot be fooled by any Tom, Dick, and Harry when they come and claim that they are the Supreme Lord. Should be very careful. Especially in the present day, there are so many yogis and babas who claim themselves as God. We should be very careful.
Also, Prabhu, there are so many people who are blindly following them.
Yes.
No knowledge.
Blind leading the blind, right?
Yeah.
You cannot blame them also. If you don't have, if you don't want to study Bhagavad Gita and whimsically go and worship somebody just because they are able to cure a disease or bring out certain material object from their mouth, so that cannot be the benchmark for a Supreme Lord, right? You are a fool and you accept the other person as Supreme Lord. Yeah. So God will remain supreme eternally. And we are always insignificant. We cannot become God. So let's not try to become God. We can become godly. Right? So that is something which we can learn. Subsequently, in the 7th verse, one of you can read the translation.
Shall I read, Guruji?
Yes, yes. Yes, Mataji.
O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything moving and not moving is here, completely in one place. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Saujanya Mataji. So actually, in this particular chapter, 11th chapter, Krishna is showing two forms. One is Vishwarupa. Anybody knows what is the other form that Krishna is showing in this chapter?
The 400 form. 400.
Yeah.
Yeah, 400 and 200 Krishna form, yeah, he is showing towards the end. But
He
other than
shows to his mother Yashoda when he's eating mud. He's showing the mother Yashoda when he's eating the mud.
Universe.
Whole universe he's showing.
Eating the mud pastime is not in Bhagavad Gita, Mataji. That is not coming in this chapter. Yeah, he is showing the universe. That is the universal form. Agreed. But he is showing one more form also in this chapter.
That is 400, no, Prabhuji?
Which one, Mataji?
400 followed by 200, Prabhuji.
So that is correct. That is
No,
towards
when they're catching, when the Duryodhana's army are coming and catching him, he's showing the Virat form in the assembly.
No, 11th.
I am talking about this 11th chapter. Krishna is
11th
showing
chapter.
two
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me only spill out. Maybe it is not quite evident in the chapter verses. He is actually showing the Vishwarupa and he is also showing the Kalarupa.
What is
Kalarupa, I am time. Right? So with Vishwarupa, Krishna shows how all the universes are getting manifested from him. He is having millions of eyes, millions of head, millions of hands, Ananta Rupam. So basically, unlimited forms, unlimited organs that Arjuna was able to see. And from Krishna comes all the universes, all the demigods, all the sages, Adityas, Varunas, everybody emanate from the Supreme. That is the Vishwarupa form. And then Krishna also shows to Arjuna how he is the devouring time. Initially, Arjuna was skeptical whether he should fight or not. What will happen to the outcome of this war? Who will win? So like that. So Krishna is saying, why you are worried about all this? I am going to show you what is going to happen in future. See how all the people in this battle, they are entering within me. So he could see that ghastly form where people like Duryodhana, Duchasana, Ashwatthama, all these people, they just enter into Krishna's body. Not only Duryodhana, Duchasan, even the great people, devotees like Bhishmadev, they also enter into Krishna's body. So that form is called the Kala Rupa. The ghastly form. Universal form is also quite ghastly. That's why Arjuna could not comprehend that form. And we will get into that section, but just to give a brief, Arjuna is actually saying, after seeing Krishna's form, that when people enter into Krishna's body, it appeared as if the rivers, multiple rivers, when they go and merge into ocean. That is one comparison which Arjuna is giving. And the second comparison is, just like how all the flies, the moths, when they go and merge into the big fire, right? They get attracted to the light of a fire and they go and get merged into the fire. They get basically devastated. So these are the two analogies that Arjuna is actually giving. The first analogy, rivers going and merging into ocean, that is actually compared to devotees like Bhishmadev. When they go and merge into Krishna, Krishna gives complete protection to them and he takes them to his abode. What is his abode? The spiritual abode of Vaikuntha. That is nothing but rivers going and merging into the ocean. And the second aspect of flies getting burnt and completely devastated by fire, that is nothing but the demonic people like Duryodhan and so many others. When they are devoured by Krishna in the form of Kala, that is the comparison which depicts that. Right? So basically that is the Kala Rupa form of the Supreme Lord. So Vishwarupa and Kala Rupa. Okay? So, and Krishna is actually giving a trailer here. We watch films and then you also get the trailer, right? So similarly, Krishna is saying, what is it that you are going to see now? Next. So 4 different sections in the universal form. Krishna will show the different manifestation and unmanifestation of the universes and how we can only see Krishna by his mercy and Arjuna's unique position. And finally, Krishna is the reservoir of all relationships. So these are the 4 aspects in this section. So universes are created and destroyed. So similarly, the universal form is also visible and invisible. That's why this form is the temporary manifestation or the material manifestation of the Supreme Lord's form. So in this form, we can, Arjuna could clearly see how all the universes are created and destroyed, manifested and unmanifested. If one of you may remember in the yesterday's session where I had shown in the slide, from Krishna comes Balarama. So in that aspect, which form of Krishna is actually involved in creation of all the universes? Anybody remembers that?
Sankrishna.
Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu. Right? Mahavishnu or the other name of that personality is
Garbhodakshi Vishnu.
Karbhodaka Sai Vishnu.
Garbhodakshi Vishnu.
Karbhodaka Sai Vishnu.
Yeah.
Karbhodaka Sai Vishnu.
Yes. Karnodaka Sai Garbhodakasai and Kshirodakasai.
Shirogadasa.
Karanodakasai Vishnu is Mahavishnu, who actually creates all the different universes, multiple universes. Garbhodakasai Vishnu enters into each of the universe and maintains that universe. And Kshirodakasai Vishnu is actually the one who is sitting in all our heart as Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Right? So these are mentioned in the Vedic literatures. So this universal form can only be seen by Krishna's mercy. Right? I have encountered many people, especially those who come and sit in my class, Bhagavad Gita classes. So people come with an intention to see God. When I ask them what is it that they expect from the course, some of them, they say openly, "Oh, I want to see God. So that's why I have come to your session." Actually, it is not so easy to see God. Leave alone seeing God. We cannot see the spirit soul also. Right? What is the size of spirit soul? We have seen in the second chapter. Anyone remembers?
One tenth of the
1/10
10,000
of the
1 millionth
hair,
the hair,
of a
hair
hair.
the
edge,
tip of the hair.
edge of the hair.
1 millionth of the hair end.
One hair
One
end. 1 million.
No,
1/10 of the end of the hair.
end of the
One-
tip of the hair.
End of the tip of the hair.
Not 1/10 or 1 million.
1/10,000.
1/10.
Ah.
1/10.
Yeah.
1% of the 10,000.
Yeah. So if you divide 10,000 parts, then that single part, especially of the tip of the hair, that is the size of spirit soul. Can we see spirit soul? No.
No.
Oh, Prabhuji, but the tip is so tiny. So tiny. How can you divide it into 10,000 parts?
Yeah, that just,
Amazing.
yeah, that goes to show how
Yeah, I
spirit
understand.
soul is not visible to our material eyes. We all have material vision. Leave alone seeing the spirit soul. Can we see an object which is 1 kilometer away?
No, Prabhuji.
No. When we age beyond 50, then we cannot read something on mobile also. That is the power of our vision. How can we see Supreme Lord? So, Srila Prabhupada, he says, you don't try to see God. You perform devotion to such an extent that God wants to see you. And Prabhupada gives an example. When somebody may want to see Prime Minister Modi, is it possible? Maybe when he goes on a road show, on a political meeting, you may go and watch him among the other million people, right? You cannot have a personal visit of Modi. But if you perform some extremely significant activity, say you are going and saving a person in terrorist attack, or you go and you serve thousands of people with Annadan Prasad. So something like that, something which you do and recognized by the government. Then Prime Minister Modi himself would want to see you. Isn't it? We have seen this. Many people, they receive Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, and so many other awards. There you would get to personally meet the Prime Minister. Similarly, when you can perform devotional service to Krishna, which is the only thing that is going to attract him, then you will get Krishna's mercy and you can take darshan of Krishna. That is why Arjuna was given this opportunity to see that Vishwarupa darshan. Right? And Arjuna's unique position is, Krishna himself is saying two things that Krishna mentions. What are they about Arjuna? Why is Krishna giving this message, Bhagavad Gita message to Arjuna? Two qualifications that Arjuna has.
Is the devotee,
Okay. One.
And he has surrendered.
devoid of all sins.
No. He's a
He's a
devotee.
friend,
Correct.
close
And
friend.
friend.
He is very beloved friends.
Yes. Right. So which means he accepts that Krishna is the master, he is the servant, devotee, and he has established a relationship with Krishna. In the beginning of the class, I mentioned A high court judge would prefer being at home with his grandchildren, son, daughter-in-law, and so on, rather than being at office in an official duty. Similarly, Krishna prefers to have loving relationship like a friend, like a father, like a conjugal lover, like a servant, something like that. Right? So that is the unique position of Arjuna. And in the 14th sloka, we can clearly understand how Krishna is the reservoir of all relationships. One of you can read the translation, please.
May I read?
Yes.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Then bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Right. So when he saw, Arjuna saw the astonishing form, so then he has his hair standing on end, which means he was not able to comprehend this universal form. And before this, he was actually having a friendly relationship with Krishna. But as soon as he saw the universal form of the Lord, he started to worship Krishna like a master. So that is why Arjuna wanted Krishna to close that darshan. He no longer wanted to see the universal form. Because what gives more relishment or happiness to Arjuna and Krishna? That friendly relationship. That is what is actually giving pleasure to the Lord as well as his devotees. So Krishna is the reservoir of all relationships. Even we can develop relationship with Krishna. How can we develop friendly relationship with Krishna? What is the easiest way to develop friendly relationship?
By serving him, Prabhuji.
Serving.
Serving him.
Unalloyed.
Serving the devotees, by
Unalloyed
serving the
devotion.
devotees.
Unalloyed
Patram
devotion.
phalam
Unalloyed devotion,
pushpam
patra
toyam.
pushpam. Yes, so many ways. And the shortcut, easiest way to become a devotee of Krishna is, if you can understand Bhagavad Gita, practice whatever mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and give that knowledge to others. That is the shortcut to becoming friend of Krishna. Right? So you practice, you chant, you become a devotee, you worship Krishna, and you teach that to your loved and dear ones. It could be your own family members. You make them a devotee.
Yes, Prabhu, we are doing that, Prabhuji.
And all of us can do actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by doing that, we can become a friend of Krishna. So, life lesson for us, in the material world, all relationships disappoint. Because people in this material world are imperfect. So we all have 4 defects as mentioned in the scriptures. But in spiritual world, all relationships are perfect. Because we are dealing with perfect people. Right? So if you want to become a devotee of Krishna or very dear to Krishna's devotees, right? So that is why satsanga is very important. In the satsanga, association of devotees, there is no hidden agenda here. Nobody want to exploit others. Whereas in the material relationship, people exploit each other. Right? So I want to get something out of the other person. It could be even to an extent of a parent and children relationship, isn't it? Parents serve children when they are young. What is the expectation? So that when I become old, my children should serve me. And the children accept service from parents. And when they become, when the parents become old, children forget everything. Because they no longer think the parents to be useful. So basically, there is an exploitation going on in material relationship. But in a Krishna conscious relationship, there is no exploitation. Why did Prabhupada go all the way to US, spread this, created ISKCON and spread Krishna consciousness? Now we have 500 plus centers all over the world. teaching Bhagavad Gita to the humankind, irrespective of caste, creed, or religion. So why everything is going on and why Prabhupada started everything? Because he had that deep understanding of Krishna consciousness. And he wanted to give this Krishna consciousness to others. He did not have any tinge of exploitatory tendency in him. He did not want to give Krishna consciousness for want of money. Ultimately, when he passed away in 1977, he did not have any bank balance. So he created ISKCON and he built temples, he built devotees, but that was all done to serve Supreme Lord Krishna. Right? So then we will come to the section of prayers of Arjuna. Arjuna's amazement, Krishna's instruction, and Arjuna's praise. So these are the sub-elements of this section. We can quickly read this. Probably 4 or 5 slides. I request one of you to take turns and read. Yeah,
May I?
let's start. Yes.
Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents."
Yeah, next one.
O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limits. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning.
Right. So basically, it's a something which we have never perceived. No, when we look at a personality, maybe a 6 foot tall, when we look from their feet until the top of their head, so then within few seconds, we will be able to perceive that person. Whereas this form of Krishna, it is imperceivable. Something which has no beginning and no end. Yeah, next one.
You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance.
Yeah, no origin, no middle, no end. So we don't have experience of such a form in this world. Next one.
Read Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space in between, and all space between. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. Thank you, Prabhuji. Pranams.
Thank you. Next one.
Hare Krishna. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So this is a summary of Arjuna's praise. So initially, he is glorifying this universal form with much amazement. He is not able to comprehend this form. So limitless, with glowing effulgence, unlimited opulences. He is spread across all the planetary systems. And demigods are completely fearful and they are subordinating to the Supreme Lord. So this is the essence of initial prayer of Arjuna. Right? So then Krishna's instructions, which is very important here. Krishna is saying, so this is where the Kala Rupa comes. Right? I was mentioning about Vishwarupa and Kala Rupa.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So Krishna is time. And Krishna also gives the prediction, what will happen to all the people in Kurukshetra war. Everybody will die except you and the Pandavas. So that's what Krishna is saying. And finally Krishna says, after understanding all this, you become my instrument. Nimittamatra bhava savyasachin. So we will discuss in detail about that particular verse, which is very important for all of us. Okay, one of you can read this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yes.
Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put into death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. As I was mentioning, this Kala Rupa is where Arjuna could see all the people in the battlefield, both from Pandava's side as well as Kaurava's side. They all get annihilated and they finally go into the form of the Supreme Lord. They are get devoured by the Supreme Lord. So that is the Kala Rupa. Initially, Arjuna had a doubt whether he would be victorious. That Krishna is clarifying even before the war began. So that is the speciality of the Supreme Lord. And the important point here is Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Nimitta matram means you be an instrument. Krishna already has devised a plan that he wants to annihilate all the miscreants, the Kauravas. The question is whether Arjuna would like to be an instrument in the hand of Krishna or he denies to fight. So that is the question in front of Arjuna. If he acts as an instrument of Krishna, then Arjuna will become glorious. Even till today, we are saying Arjuna is a great archer. He was single-handedly able to destroy the Kauravas, and eventually Pandavas became victorious. We all credit the victory of Kurukshetra to Arjuna, isn't it? And to Bhima as well. Why? Ultimately, everything is planned and executed by Krishna. We are all just an instrument in Krishna's hand. Just like how many of you have seen the puppet show? Any of you seen that?
Yes.
Right? At least on TV we would have seen, right?
Yeah.
The children may think, oh, what an amazement. So, such a small doll could be able to dance and make funny movements. But is it the doll which is making all the movement?
No.
Behind the puppet there is a string, and the one will operate it.
Exactly. And who is that string or the person behind the screen? Krishna.
Oh, Krishna.
Right? So when we understand it, then we won't get bewildered at all under any situation in life. Often, most of the problems in life keep coming to us because we wrongly think that we are the doers and we are the controllers. Any situation for that matter, we think that we are leading the family, we are the head of the family, and everyone should listen to me. And I am the deciding factor in the family. If I am not there, then the family cannot run. So these are all false conceptions.
Prabhuji, one doubt.
Yes.
We can make mistakes, is not certain amount of freedom is given to us.
Right.
And if we misuse it, we are prone to make mistakes, no, Prabhuji?
Exactly. So what is the question?
So we cannot completely say whether it is Bhagavan only is doing everything. Yes, given us some amount of misuse of that freedom only may decide the results, isn't it, Prabhuji?
Okay. So, but like for example, I will post a counter question. Somebody may study well in examination, put all the hard work. But is that going to guarantee that he will secure 100 marks in examination?
No, it's not. But in some conditions, it will vary, no, Prabhuji?
Yes. Yes. So it varies according to the will of the Lord.
I see.
When Lord decides, then he can make even a pauper as a millionaire. Huh?
Prabhuji, sometimes there are very qualified people also who graduate and they know they are very well qualified, very knowledgeable, but they don't get a proper job of their choice.
Exactly.
So
So basically, Bhagavad Gita actually teaches us in the earlier chapter that there are three doers for any activity. One is the individual. Of course, we also have a small little role to play. Unless we study, we will not pass examination. That is correct. We need to make our effort. But ultimately, the final sanctioner is the Supreme Lord. Until he sanctions, whatever endeavor that we may put, we won't succeed. We often say this, right? Man proposes and God disposes.
yes.
So ultimately, the disposition should come from the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna Guruji, there is one, I don't remember the sloka properly, but there is one, this thing, I am the remembrance, I am the thought, I am the one who makes the remembrance at the time. That is the one, is this.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritirjnanam
The
apohanam.
thoughts, the buddhi and all, I make it.
He gives the remembrance and he gives the forgetfulness. Krishna says,
Yes.
15, no, no Prabhuji?
yes. So Krishna says that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So if a thief is a thief destined to be a thief by Krishna's will?
Sorry, come again, Mataji.
Is a thief destined to be a thief by Krishna's will,
So,
or he himself is the reason? And the person who commits suicide, is it destined that he should commit suicide by Krishna's will, or he is doing it?
that's a good question. So we all are given a tiny little independence, right? How we use that independence or misuse that independence determines the fate. Like, for example, a dad, he gives a pocket money to the child. The child could use that pocket money to buy books, or the child could misuse the pocket money by buying drugs. So what happens when the child misuses the money and consumes drug, and the father comes to know about that?
He won't get
He
the
will
money
feel
again.
upset, very upset.
He will be
He'll
very
feel very
upset. He
upset
will
also.
not give the
Yeah.
money again, right?
Yeah.
He will punish him.
Yes, right.
Similarly, when living entities, especially human beings, when we misuse our little independence and commit some wrong activities, then we are punished by nature. Nature is under the supervision of Krishna. What happens in the next life? We take birth in lower species of life. We become like animals. So that is what happens. So that misuse, that freedom is given, definitely. Little bit of freedom.
Prabhuji, what about
Prabhu, they say, no, there's someone commits suicide. Maybe they are destined to live for 70 years or so, but they commit suicide at a very early age. So they won't get another body till that time. Is that true, Prabhu?
Yes, that's true. That's true. It's a punishment. Yes.
The punishment.
Prabhuji, one more question.
So please excuse me. I will definitely take your question, park your question. I'll finish this session, and towards the end, I will take all
Yes,
the.
Prabhuji, sorry.
I will spend as much time as possible. No issues. I'll quickly finish a few slides, right? Okay. So the lesson for us is that we have our plans, and Lord also has his plans. If both those match, then we succeed. If that doesn't match, then we fail. Right? So ultimately, we need to understand that everything is happening by Lord's plan. Sometimes it may align with our plan, other times it may not. Or most of the times it may not. Then we need to understand and accept the fact. So that is most important. What happens? People get dejected and they take extreme steps. So that is where all this suicide and other things happen. Right? And in lieu of time, I will read this. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "O Janardana, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature. I was telling you, right? He showed the universal form, then the four-handed form, then he came down to two-handed form, Manusham Rupam. That is the original spiritual form of Supreme Lord Krishna. And that is the form which gives us the most pleasure as devotees. And Arjuna is expressing that here. So, human-like two-handed form, Manusha Rupam, and Saumya Vapuhu, most beautiful, Su Durdarshanam, which is very difficult to see. So, that refers to the Vishwarupa form. And the essence of Bhagavad Gita is also mentioned here by Krishna. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, works for me, makes me the supreme goal of his life, who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So that is the essence of the Krishna's statement towards the end of this chapter. Ultimately, we can definitely appreciate and adore the Lord's universal form, but which is going to give more pleasure to both the Supreme Lord as well as the devotees is the two-handed form. You know, one time in Vrindavan, this pastime happened. Krishna was playing dance with the gopis. So at one point, Krishna, he actually wanted to evade that pastime, and he magically he went away from that place. He suddenly disappeared. The gopis and Radharani, they were searching for Krishna all around. They could not find. And suddenly Krishna, in a garden, he appeared with four-handed Vishnu form. And when the gopis came searching for Krishna, they saw the four-handed Vishnu form. They prayed pranams. And you know what they asked Lord Vishnu? The gopis asked Lord Vishnu, my pranams to you, but can you please show me where our beloved Krishna is? So Krishna in Vishnu form, he was amazed. He thought that the gopis would be mesmerized with the four-handed form, but rather they are not bothered. They only want the two-handed Krishna's form. And then Lord Vishnu showed his hands like this. Krishna went in that direction. So then the gopis, they all went in that direction searching for Krishna. The topmost of gopis, Srimati Radharani, finally came. And when she saw Lord Vishnu's form, she could, she wanted to see Lord Krishna only. But then when she came, she understood that it was Lord Krishna himself who was deceiving all the gopis. So she came and she touched the Supreme Lord Krishna in the Vishnu form. As soon as Radharani touched Krishna, automatically two of his arms melted and he fell down. And Krishna again regained the two-handed form. So Krishna could not show even the four-handed form in front of the gopis and Radharani, because the original form of Krishna is the two-handed form, which we all have seen in many of the temples, especially in Vrindavan. That is the most attractive form of the Supreme Lord. Right? The devotee would always love to worship the Supreme Lord in that two-handed form. So with that, we will come to an end. Thank you so much. Continue doing your devotional service. Make an attempt to become a devotee of Lord. Try to establish relationship like how Arjuna did. Then Krishna will reveal us whichever form he likes to. So, and as devotees, we all would love to have that darshan of two-handed form of the Supreme Lord. The darshan of Supreme Lord can be had even in temples. Whatever the Archa Vigraha we are seeing in the temples, they are non-different from Supreme Lord. The Lord is very mercifully come down in the temples giving darshan to us. Because we can only perceive material form. We cannot perceive spiritual form. That's why Lord is taking the material form in the form of wood or metal or so many other material elements. Right? So we start worshipping the Lord at our home or at temples in that material form. Slowly we will be able to perceive the spiritual form of Lord also. That happens by the mercy of Supreme Lord. Okay. So with that note, I will close the session for today. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Lovely class. Very nice explanation, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much.
Prabhupada's message.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any question?
Thank you,
I thought somebody had a question.
Yes, Prabhu, one question.
Yeah.
It is with the little freedom we are doing, we are deciding about some work. In case it turns out to be a wrong thing, how we should conclude whether it is due to our misuse of little freedom, or it's due to our karma, or it is Bhagavan's wish.
Can you give an example, Mataji?
Anything, Prabhuji. That is example, and I can like say.
Okay.
Marriage also we can say no, Prabhuji. We are arranging marriage with good intention, with our little, with all defects. We are deciding this will be good, and we are choosing. And finally, it is not going to be a good one. Is it due to our misuse of our freedom, or it is due to our karma, or it's what Bhagavan decides?
Right.
Or what? So many factors will be involved, is it not, Prabhuji?
Right. That's a very valid and nice question. Very practical for all of us to understand as well. See, there are two classifications, Mataji.
Yes.
One is for those who are non-devotees, or those who worship Krishna only for material benefits.
Yes.
Right? So that is one category. The other is the category of a devotee. Those who are surrendered to Lord and following his instruction. And instruction of the spiritual master, most importantly. So in the first category, the resultant reaction, it's all based on one's previous karma and the current activities also. So in this lifetime, we do a lot of karma. In previous lifetimes, we have done many karma. So all that will take its effect in the first category of people. For the second category of people who are surrendered to Supreme Lord Krishna, surrendered not just by words, but by action. Means somebody who is rendering devotional service to the Lord. To that category of people, Supreme Lord himself takes control over their life. So apparently it may look like a devotee is suffering or he is enjoying, but actually it is Krishna who is taking personal care of that devotee. Right? He can, for that class of people, karma doesn't affect.
Yes.
Because they only perform akarma, activities to please the Lord. They don't perform either positive karma or negative karma.
But past karmas, Prabhuji, it will come and crop this.
Even the past karmas are also taken out by Krishna. In the 18th chapter, Krishna is saying, Sarva dharman parityachya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami masuchaha. I give waiver to all your past sinful reactions and actions. I take away all that, provided you are able to surrender unto me only. Leave alone all other dharma and surrender to me. Sarva dharman parityachya mam ekam saranam vraja. So Krishna gives that guarantee. So to such person, the past karma is also nullified by Krishna.
Yes, sir.
Right? So it depends on whether a person is surrendered or not surrendered to Krishna. If he is not surrendered, everything will happen based on his past karma. If he is surrendered, everything will happen based on Krishna's plan. Is that fine, Mataji?
Prabhuji, in that Prabhuji, in that connection, I want to ask you something. Today I got a message in the group, in my other group, that two devotees, they are met with an accident today. They were going on the motorbike, and some auto fellows who were bypassing, they're in Chennai. They knocked him, and then they are both in hospital. The Mataji, she has to undergo surgery of the knee, and the Prabhuji also some part of the hand fracture. His hand is fractured. So both are in hospitalized. Right? So we all send, prayers like to Narasimha, they, for their well-being. So how did that happen, Prabhuji? Because they are good devotees, both are, preaching.
Right.
Mataji preaching, like, she's helping the children to chant and other preaching work. Prabhuji, he's also doing a lot of seva, temple seva and all that. So how did that happen to them, Prabhuji?
See, whether somebody is a devotee or non-devotee, in this life, we are in the material world. We are not in spiritual world, right?
Yes.
So what is the nature of material world? Dukkhalayam ashashvatam.
Yeah.
So we are bound to get birth, death, old age and disease, at least in this life. But Krishna is guaranteeing, if you become a devotee and surrender to me fully, then I take you back to my abode. And that taking back of the conditioned soul who has surrendered to Krishna to his abode, it can happen only by death. Only when a person dies, he can go to the next destination. So even for a devotee, death is going to happen. It could come in the form of accident, or it could come by heart attack or any means. Ultimately, what matters is Krishna gives that remembrance to that devotee at the time of death. So that is how Krishna is protecting a devotee. Not that Krishna protects a devotee from dying at all. No. That cannot happen because the nature of this material world is temporariness. Even a devotee is going to suffer or die. But Krishna protects him by giving that remembrance.
Okay.
So if a devotee is so matured and always Krishna conscious, even when he meets with that accident by that auto, at that point also he will only remember Krishna.
Yes.
So, but he has to suffer.
Also, Prabhu, one more question. It is said, like, when the devotee, when the normal people, non-devotee, they die, as per their karma, they have to suffer. But when a devotee, a pure devotee, when he leaves his body, like, the Vishnu Dutas will come and take him, take the soul, right? But generally, when a person leaves a body, 13 days, so the soul remains there, no?
Right.
So it's a little confusing. Can you elaborate on that, Prabhuji? To the 13th day, until they do all this kriya karma and all that, the soul where they remains, or immediately it goes. It's a bit confusing.
So it depends actually. It all depends on the state of mind of that person. So say, for example, the state of mind of that person at the time of death is animalistic, and the person has committed so many sinful activities. So then to get a next body, it could be even an animal body, cat body or pig body or whatever. To get that body, it takes time. So the person is given a yatana deha, which is nothing but an intermediate body, which is given to that spirit soul and taken to hellish planets. There, all the sufferings are given to that deha, and finally, the spirit soul gets a body, suitable body. So it might take time. But for a devotee, it is mentioned in the scriptures, Prabhupada also says that at the time of death, it is like I sleep at night and I wake up at morning. Similarly, when a devotee dies and when he wakes up, he is going to be in the spiritual world. It all is going to happen smoothly and seamlessly. A devotee need not wait for longer duration.
Is it for a devotee or a pure devotee?
Yes, somebody who is completely surrendered.
Okay.
Prabhuji, in this contest, if you have time, please explain this.
Yeah.
In Canto 1, Narada, Bhagavan gives Narada his Rupam. And but he says this Janma, you have to wait because you have still some material problems. And for Narada, at the age of 5, he has got some material thing. Means, how about us? How is it possible for us to go to Golok?
Yeah. So on our own, it is not possible. That's why we take shelter of the spiritual master.
But Narada is under the shelter of spiritual master only, no Prabhuji.
Right. So the perfection, yeah, the perfection may take time. It depends on the level of surrender of that spirit soul. If you are completely surrendered to your spiritual master and always rendering service to him, then you can achieve perfection in this life. In the case of that maidservant's boy, the next life he had to take birth of Narada Muni, and he, of course, Narada Muni, we all know what a pure devotee he is.
Yes.
So
that was a bit.
But Prabhupada says that this moment of surrender, it could happen immediately, even in the next moment. Right? So it may not take multiple lifetimes. Next moment, we can leave away all our material desires and surrender completely to Krishna and the spiritual master. So if we can do that, then we can achieve perfection in this life.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it is 4:30 here. I also have a Nagara
Okay,
Sanghi
thank you,
meeting.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Prabhuji.
Thanks
Hare
for
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad
Jai
Gita.
Shri.
Jai.
Bhagavad
Jai.
Gita ki jai.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.